There is a sound a casket handle makes when 6 men lift it at the same time. A small, cold, metal sound. I have heard it more times than I can count, and I have never once gotten used to it. I am 84 years old. 60 of those years I have spent walking people right up to the door of eternity, and then standing at the graveside afterward with the ones they left behind. I have buried husbands. I have buried wives. Twice in my life I have buried a child, and both times I went home and sat in the dark and had nothing to say to God but His name. So let me say the thing nobody says out loud. The most dangerous place for a grieving family is not the graveside. It is the 2 weeks after, when the cars pull away and the casseroles stop coming and the house goes quiet in a way that houses are not supposed to be quiet. Now don't click away. Give an old man 20 minutes. Because I am going to give you 10 things you should never do at a funeral. And number 7 is the one I have watched quietly wound more families than the other 9 put together. But you have to hear the first ones first. They build. My name is Pastor Malcolm. Some folks just call me the old shepherd. Pull up a chair, friend. Sit with me a while. An old shepherd's got something to tell you before the day gets away from us. Before we begin, let me say one thing plainly, because we are going to talk about death today, and some of you are carrying a fresh grave. I am an old pastor sharing what a lifetime has taught me. I am not a doctor. I am not a lawyer. I am not a counselor. If your heart is very heavy tonight, if it is heavier than you can carry alone, please reach out to someone near you or to a professional who can sit with you properly. God works through medicine. God works through family. God works through help. Asking for it is faith, not weakness. I want that said before anything else, because I have known men who died of a grief they were too proud to mention. All right, 10 things. And here is the reframe I want you to hold on to, because the title of this may have made your stomach tighten. This list is not to scare you, it is to spare you. Not one of these is a rule with a punishment attached to it. Every single one of them is something I have watched break a person, and I would rather you learn it from an old man at a table than learn it standing on wet grass in a black coat. He knows your name, and He has not lost you. Hold that. We will keep coming back to it. Number 1, never open your mouth with the words "at least." At least she's out of pain. At least he lived a long life. At least you had 40 good years. At least you can have another child. I know why we say it. I have said it myself. God forgive me in my 30s when I did not know any better. We say it because a silence in a funeral home feels unbearable, and at least is the fastest bridge across it. But listen to what those 2 words actually do. They take the worst day of somebody's life and hand it back to them with a discount attached, at least, as though the arithmetic of it should comfort them, as though grief were a bill that could be reduced. Let me say that more carefully. The person who says "at least" is not a cruel person. They are a frightened person. They are frightened of the size of the sorrow in front of them, and they are trying to make it smaller so they can stand in the room with it. Here is what to do instead. Say the truth and keep it short. I am so sorry. I loved him too. I don't have any words. That last one is not a failure, by the way. That last one is one of the most honest and most healing things a human being can say at a coffin. I don't have any words. It tells the mourner that their loss is big enough to break language, which it is. And then stay a minute longer than is comfortable. That is the whole secret, and it costs nothing. Most people say their line and move toward the door because the silence frightens them. Stand in the silence. Let it be awkward. The mourner will not remember what you said. They will remember for 30 years who was still standing there when there was nothing left to say. He knows your name, and He has not lost you. That is true of the one in the coffin, and it is true of the one standing in front of it, and it is true of you. Number 2, never tell a grieving person how they ought to be feeling. Be strong, don't cry. You have to keep it together for the children. She wouldn't want you sad. Time heals everything. Time does not heal everything. I want to be very plain about that, because a woman wrote it to me once and I have never forgotten it. Time does not heal everything. Time teaches you to carry it. Those are different things. And telling a widow the first one when she is living the second one makes her feel like she is failing at something everyone else has managed. And be strong. Oh, be strong. Do you know what be strong sounds like to a man burying his wife of 51 years? It sounds like, your sorrow is making us uncomfortable. Please put it away. He will put it away. That is the tragedy. He will put it away so neatly and so completely that it will come back out of him 4 years later as a heart that will not soften and a temper he did not used to have. Jesus stood outside the tomb of a man he was about to raise from the dead, and he wept anyway. He knew the ending. He wept anyway. Nobody in Scripture told him to be strong. Number 3, never make the day about you. This one is subtle and it is everywhere. It is the cousin who has to tell everyone how devastated she is until the widow ends up comforting her. It is the man who corners the son at the buffet table to talk about his own father's death in 1979. It is the friend who says, I just can't handle funerals. I might not make it through. Grief has an order to it that day, and the order is simple. Closest to the loss gets the most care. Everyone outside that circle is there to hold the wall up, not to lean on it. Here is your test, and you can use it in any funeral home in America. Before you speak, ask yourself one question. Is what I am about to say for them, or is it for me? If it is for you, swallow it. Say it to your wife in the car on the way home. That is what the car is for. He knows your name, and he has not lost you. Number 4, never let the day become a performance instead of a prayer. Now I have to be careful here, because I am going to tell you something that surprises a lot of people, and I do not want it to sound like a scolding. The church's own instruction for a funeral mass is that there is a homily and there is never a eulogy. That is not my opinion, that is written down. The general instruction of the Roman Missal says it in plain words. And the order of Christian funerals then makes provision, very deliberately, for something else. A member of the family or a friend may speak in remembrance of the deceased, briefly, before the final commendation begins, or at the vigil the night before, where there is room to breathe. Why the distinction? I wondered that for years. And here is what 60 years taught me. It is not because the church does not care about your mother's stories. It is because at that hour, in that room, the family does not primarily need to be reminded of what she was. They need to be reminded of who has her. A eulogy looks backward at a life. The funeral rite looks forward at a resurrection. Both are good. Only one of them can carry a widow through the night. So if you are asked to speak, speak. Speak with your whole heart. Keep it to 3 minutes. Tell one true story instead of 5 polished ones, and do not turn it into a stand-up routine or a job interview for the deceased. And if the priest asks you to give your remembrance at the vigil instead, do not take offense. He is not silencing your love. He is protecting the one thing in that whole week that is not about our words at all. Number 5, never canonize them at the graveside. Pray for them instead. You will hear it at every funeral in the English-speaking world now. She's an angel now. He's got his wings. I am not going to embarrass anybody for saying it. It comes out of love, and love is allowed to be imprecise. But since we are sitting here, let me tell you what the church actually holds, because it is better than the greeting card. Angels are a different order of creature altogether. They are pure spirit. They were never human and they will never be human, and your mother did not become one, because your mother is something the angels do not get to be. She is a soul made in the image of God, joined to a body that God intends to raise. The angels have no resurrection coming. She does. And here is the practical part, the part that will still matter to you in 5 years. Prayer for the dead is one of the oldest things we do. In the second book of Maccabees, it is written that it is a holy and wholesome thought to pray for the dead, that they may be loosed from their sins. Loosed, that is the word. The church has never stopped doing it. We hold that a soul may still be being purified, being made ready, being finished, before it can bear the sight of God, and our prayers reach there. Do you understand what that means? It means love still has a job. It means the thing you thought was over is not over. You can still do something for him. You can have a mass offered. You can say his name every night. You can light a candle on the 2nd of November and mean it. I have never once met a grieving person who was harmed by being told there is still something they can do. And I will be honest with you about the edge of this, because I am not going to pretend to know more than I know. Where exactly a soul is tonight, how long, what it is like. The church does not hand us a map of that, and any man who draws you one is drawing it himself. What we are given is smaller and firmer than a map. We are told that our prayers are not wasted, that they go somewhere, that the God who receives them is not stingy. At 84, I have made my peace with knowing less and trusting more. I would rather stand at a graveside with one true thing than 100 confident guesses. He knows your name, and he has not lost you. He did not lose the one you buried either. Number 6, never treat the body like something left over. We are strange about this now. We hurry past it. We keep the casket closed when it did not need to be closed. We say things like it's just a shell. That's not really him. I understand the instinct and I will not fight anyone over it. But that body prayed. That body was baptized and the water ran off that forehead. That body worked 40 years and carried children on it and knelt down when the knees did not want to. St. Paul does not call it a shell. He says it is sown in corruption and raised in incorruption, sown in weakness and raised in power, sown like seed. You do not throw seed away. Touch the hand if they let you. Say the name out loud. Bow when you pass. It is not morbid. It is the last courtesy of one body to another before God gives it back to us better than we gave it up. Number 7, and here is the one I told you about. Never disappear when the casseroles stop. Everybody shows up for the funeral. Everybody. The church is full. The phone does not stop. 3 different women bring the same green bean dish, and the freezer will not close. For about 9 days, that widow is the most attended to person in the county. And then it stops. All at once, the way a faucet stops. Everyone has been kind. Everyone has done their part. Everyone goes back to their own lives, which is right and normal and not wicked at all. But the widow is now 3 weeks in. The paperwork is finished. The flowers have gone brown in the trash. And this is the exact moment the reality arrives. Not at the graveside. The graveside is adrenaline and logistics and people. Week 3 is when she reaches over in the dark for a shoulder that is not there. Week 3 is the danger. Week 3 is when I lose people. Not to anything dramatic, to a slow, quiet contraction of the heart. They stop coming to Mass because the pew has an empty half. They stop eating properly because cooking for one feels absurd. They stop answering the phone, and then people stop calling, and both sides secretly agree it is easier. I have watched a woman go from grieving to gone in 11 months, and not one person did anything wrong. Everyone was kind at the funeral. Nobody was there in November. So write this down and then actually do it, because good intentions have never once fed anybody. Put a date in your calendar 6 weeks out. 6 weeks. Put another one at the first anniversary, and on those days you do not text. You go, you sit. You do not bring a solution. You bring a chair and 45 minutes. And if you cannot go, you call and you say his name. Say the dead man's name out loud to his widow. Everyone else has started avoiding it, and she is starving to hear it. He knows your name, and he has not lost you. And so does she. Say it. Number 8, never let the arrangements turn into a war. I will be blunt with you because I am too old to be delicate about it. I have watched families that buried a mother on a Saturday and never spoke to each other again by Christmas, not over the grief, over a ring, over who paid for the flowers, over a sentence somebody said in a hospital corridor at 2 a.m. when they were out of their mind with exhaustion. That is the cost of getting this wrong. and I want to name it plainly. It is not a small cost. It is the loss of the only people left on this earth who remember your mother the way you remember her. When they are gone from your life, she gets smaller. There is nobody left to say, "Do you remember how she used to hum in the kitchen?" That is a second death, and it is entirely avoidable. So at the funeral, you decide in advance that you will lose. Whatever it is, the chair, the china, the last word. You decide before you walk in that you are going to be the one who lets it go, and then when the moment comes, you will already have decided, and you will not have to be strong in the moment, which is when nobody is strong. Wait, let me back up, because I have overstated it. There are real injustices in families, and I am not telling a person who has been genuinely wronged to pretend it did not happen. I am telling you not to litigate it in the 3 days around a coffin. Those 3 days are not a court. Take it up in March when everyone can hear. Number 9, never make a promise at a graveside that your calendar will not keep. I'll call you every week. We'll have you over for Sunday dinner from now on. You won't be alone, I promise. You mean it. On that day, standing on that grass, with your throat closed up, you mean every word of it. And then Tuesday comes, and Tuesday has its own opinions. A promise made at a graveside and broken by Easter does more damage than no promise at all, because now she has been buried twice, once by God and once by you. So promise small. Promise something so small it embarrasses you. I will call you on the first Sunday of the month. That is it. That is the whole promise. And then be a man or a woman of your word about that one small thing for 2 years, and you will have done more for that soul than everyone who promised the moon. Number 10, never leave a funeral without letting it preach to you. This is the one for your own soul, and it is the reason I still go to funerals at 84 when I could reasonably be excused. Somewhere in that hour, look at the coffin, not sideways. Look at it and say to yourself quietly without any drama at all, that is a door I am going to walk through. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, Pastor, that is a morbid thing to ask of me. I came here sad enough. And I want to answer that directly because it is a fair thing to think. It is not morbid. Morbid is being afraid of a thing and refusing to look at it so that it grows in the dark for 40 years. What I am describing is the opposite. Every generation of Christians before ours kept a reminder of death in plain sight, not because they were gloomy, but because a man who has made his peace with the door stops being ruled by the fear of it, and a man who is not ruled by the fear of it lives differently. He forgives faster. He puts things right sooner. He is not so frantic. I will tell you something honest. At 84, I have stopped being afraid of dying. I have not stopped being afraid of dying badly. Those are different, and only one of them is in my hands. Let me tell you about Nelson. Nelson Barlow, I will call him, and it was the autumn of 1994. He was burying his older brother, and the two of them had not spoken in 9 years over something to do with their father's land. 9 years. He came to the funeral because you have to, and he stood at the back with his hat in his hands like a man waiting for a bus. Afterward, in the parking lot, gravel under our shoes, he said to me, Pastor, I keep thinking I'll feel something and I don't. I just feel like I got here late. I did not have anything clever for him. I said, you did get here late. That is exactly what happened, and now the only person you can be on time for is whoever's left. He drove 4 hours the next morning to his sister's house, unannounced, sat on her porch. He told me later she opened the door and neither of them said a word for about a minute. They just stood there, and then she said, well, come in. The coffee's already made. She had been making coffee for a brother who had not come for 9 years. Nelson died in 2003. His sister was holding his hand. 9 wasted years and 9 good ones. And if you had told him in that parking lot in 1994 that the 9 good ones were coming, he would not have believed you. That is what a funeral is for. Not for the dead. The dead are past our help in every way but prayer. A funeral is God's last, loudest attempt to get the living to go home and fix something while there is still somebody there to fix it with. He knows your name, and He has not lost you. There is a saint I think of at nearly every funeral I attend, and she was a mother who spent 30 years praying for a son who was throwing his life away with both hands. Monica, her boy was Augustine, and if you know how that story ends, you know she got everything she asked for and then some. But this is the part I want you to have. When she was dying, in a rented room in Ostia, far from home, her sons were distressed because she was going to be buried in a foreign country instead of beside her husband, as she had always wanted. And she said to them, "Bury this body anywhere. Do not let care of it disturb you. Only this I ask of you, that you remember me at the altar of the Lord, wherever you may be." Nothing about the plot, nothing about the headstone, nothing about the flowers or the music or who sits in the front row. Remember me at the altar of the Lord. 1,500 years later, that is still the best funeral instruction anybody has ever given, and it fits on an index card. And notice what she did for her sons in saying it. She took the whole weight of the arrangements off them before they had to carry it. No plot to fight over, no wishes to fail to honor. She freed her children from the exact argument that has broken 10,000 families since. That is a mother's last act of love, and you can copy it this week. Tell your children plainly what you want, and then tell them out loud that if it cannot be done that way, you will not mind. You will be handing them a peace they will not understand the value of until the day they need it. He knows your name, and He has not lost you. I'll tell you what has always undone me about the shortest verse in the Bible. It is not that Jesus wept, it is when He wept. He is standing outside Lazarus's tomb. He already knows. He knows that in 4 minutes He is going to call that man out of the dark by name and hand him back to his sisters, alive. The victory is already decided, and He stands there in front of the stone with the outcome in His pocket, and He weeps anyway. Jesus wept. John chapter 11, verse 35, which means grief is not a failure of faith. Grief is what love does when it runs into a closed door. And the one who is going to open the door still stopped and cried in front of it first. Don't take an old man's word for it. Open your own Bible tonight and read the 11th chapter of John slowly and see if you don't find your own face somewhere in it. Now, here is your one small thing today. Just today. Think of one person who buried somebody in the last 2 years. Not this month, the last 2 years when everyone else has moved on and the calendar has gone quiet. You have somebody. A name just came to you. Call them, not a text. Call. And when they pick up, say the dead person's name out loud in the first 30 seconds. I was thinking about Harold today. That is all it takes. You will hear something happen in their voice. I have heard it 100 times, and it never stops moving me. And I want you to do one more thing. For you, not for me. Down in the comments, where I will see it and where somebody else who is sitting alone tonight will see it too, write 4 words. He knows my name. 4 words. Not because I need them, because the thing you write down you start to believe. And there is going to be a widow scrolling past at 2 in the morning who needs to see that 40 other people wrote it before her. Let us pray. Lord, you stood at a grave and you wept, so you will not despise our tears now. For everyone listening who has a fresh grave in their family, steady them, not with answers, with your nearness. For the ones in week 3, when the house has gone quiet and the phone has stopped, come in and sit down in that quiet with them. You are not afraid of an empty room. For the ones carrying a family that broke apart over a funeral, give them the grace to be the first one to reach out and the humility to lose an argument that never mattered. And for the souls of everyone we have buried, eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace. He knows their name, and He has not lost them. He knows your name too, and He has not lost you. Amen. If an old man's words found you tonight, alike helps the Lord carry them to the next tired soul. And there are a great many tired souls out there this week. And if your heart is very heavy after all this talk of graves, please do not sit alone with it. Tell somebody near you. Call your doctor, call your priest, call your daughter. God works through help, and reaching for it is courage, not weakness. Remember what you are writing in the comments. He knows my name. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face shine upon you, and may He bring you in His own good time all the way home. The hour is getting late, but the shepherd's still near. Rest that heart of yours. I'll keep a chair for you at the table. I'll see you again soon.